Good day. Welcome to the 62nd episode of the series Decolonizing the Mind. Today I'll talk about the attack of Israel on Iran and the BRICS conference. The BRICS conference was held in Kazan and it was a historic meeting. But at the end of the week, the news was about the attack of Israel on Iran. But it's good to remember where we are now in the continuing genocide in Gaza. Only in the last 3 weeks, 1,000 Palestinians have been killed. 43,000 has been killed since October that are accounted for, mostly women and children. But there are still tens of thousands buried under rubble and they are not accounted for. Then we have another 100,000 injured and millions displaced. Famine and diseases threatens the whole population, and we are witnesses to that genocide, and the world, especially the Western world, is supporting it. And the original aim of the Israeli genocide was to destroy Hamas. And even after they martyred Sinwar, Hamas is still fighting on. And on the front with Hezbollah, the euphoria after the martyring of Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah and the Patriot attack, all this euphoria has subsided because it was followed by an invasion of Lebanon that was meant to wipe out Hezbollah, and it has failed miserably. Every day, soldiers of the Israeli occupation forces are being killed in Lebanon, and rockets from Hezbollah disrupt life in Tel Aviv and in Haifa. So things doesn't look good for the Zionist regime. And yet at the end of the week they staged an attack on Iran. And after weeks of threatening to strike nuclear plants and oil installations, and the end of the day, they sent rockets to a military base near Tehran. 5 people were killed, 4 soldiers and a civilian, and there was limited damage. And the US and its allies are urging Iran not to respond. But in Iran, they are preparing for a response. President Masoud Pezeshkian offered his condolence to the families and stressed the need that Tehran will respond to any act of foolishness with wisdom and intelligence. Parliament Speaker Mohammed Bakir Kalibaf affirmed that Tehran will surely deliver a well thought out response to Israel in retaliation of the regime's air attacks against Iran. And Foreign Minister Said Abbas Araghchi stressed that Tehran will not hesitate to respond decisively and appropriately to any violation of its sovereignty and territorial integrity at the appropriate time. And the Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei, in a meeting with the families of martyred security forces on Sunday, he stated that the Zionist regime malice should not be exaggerated nor underestimated, and he emphasized that security must prevail in the country, stating that without security there can be no economy, no science, no development, and no family stability. Security is the foundation of all tools necessary for the development of a nation and its people. Meaning, if Israel attacks Iran, security is attained by destroying that threat. Now, some impatient people seeing the horrors of the genocide might ask themselves, why doesn't Iran bomb the hell out of Israel? Because you have to understand the end game. No military policy or political policy is based on just action and reaction. Every intelligent military strategist looked at the end game. And the end game is not bombing Israel. The end game is the liberation of the land of Palestine. That's the end game. So then the question is, how does bombing fit in that strategy? Well, it's just a small part. The biggest part of the strategy began years ago when the Oslo Accords imprinted in the mind of everybody in the world that the two-state solution was necessary because Israel cannot be defeated militarily. And that is what Hamas, Islamic Jihad, and other resistant groups destroyed. They destroyed the myth that Israel cannot be defeated militarily. And that's the significance of October 7, because never in their mind did they thought it would be possible. Although Israel had been defeated in Lebanon by Hezbollah twice. So the strategy of the people who are actually working towards the liberation of Palestine, the main thing was to establish in the mind of the people that the two-state solution is going nowhere, as practice has shown, and that it requires an axis of resistance in Syria, Lebanon, Palestine, and now Iraq, Yemen, Iran, and other Islamic countries in Western Asia and beyond. And so what you see that Iran is doing is building this axis of resistance patiently. And then October 7 was the beginning of the last round of fights. And the biggest challenge was for Iran to rally the world around the idea that the two-state solution is an illusion. Remember that China and Russia officially are in favor of a two-state solution. And with the genocide in Gaza and now the beginning of a genocide in Lebanon, these countries have to think about their policy. Once they are convinced that a one-state solution, meaning basically the dissolution of the state of Israel, is the only option, then you can move towards the next stage, which is the liberation of Palestine, meaning the liberation of the land of Palestine. So reoccupying what was your land. And in order to do that, you need not have only a unity with China and Russia, but also bridge the Sunni-Shia divide and mobilize the global south and Iran, of course, where there were elections and the different factions had their say. It's time to unite the nations, and that is what's going on. So this work is much more important than the action-reaction bombing. And once you understand that, you can judge the action-reaction within this framework of the bigger picture of united the world to bring down the Zionist state of Israel. Now, and here is where BRICS comes in. BRICS is basically the new world order in the making. And it's only recently, basically after the Ukraine war, that it has gained a significance which it hadn't had before. Because BRICS started almost 20 years ago in September 2006, when 4 countries, Brazil, Russia, India, and China, huge countries, with hundreds of millions of people in the population, they started at the margin of the general debate of the UN Assembly. They started a series of high-level meetings. It's 2006. And 3 years later, on June the 16th, 2009, an inaugural not BRICS, but BRIC summit took place in Yekaterinburg, in Russia, and it was attended by Lula from Brazil, Medvedev, then president of Russia, Manmohan Singh, then president of India, and Hu Jintao, president of China. So BRIC was formed. Formally, a year later, you had the inaugural meeting in 2009 and a formal meeting, 2010, you had the meeting where South Africa joined BRICS and it became BRICS. And another very important development within BRICS was in 2015 the establishment of the new development bank with an initial authorized capital of 100 billion US dollar. Now, just look at the economies. The leading economy within BRICS, obviously, the economies are very unequal and diverse, is China. China has a GDP of 27 trillion US dollar, larger than the United States. The GDP measured by PPP, that's a specific measurement, more accurate than the old definition. And according to that definition, China surpassed United States with 27 trillion GDP, while the United States lagged with 23 trillion. And then the European Union, all the countries together, follow with 22, and then comes India with 10, Russian Federation with 5, and Brazil with 3 trillion. So China is, economically speaking, the leading force there. But not only in terms of the state of affairs now, but also in terms of the trend. You can see how China, the growth of China is much greater than the growth of, let's say, India or the United States. From 1990 to 2021, which is 30 years, you can see in the graph a very steep rise of the economy of China. Now, for the future of the BRICS, the relationship between India and China is crucial. That will determine the future of the BRICS, and they have problems to deal with. They have border disputes for 60 years without a final solution. Now and then it flares up with confrontations, recently with new Chinese map redrawing borders, the support of China for Pakistan in the dispute on Kashmir. But around the Kazan meeting, China and India confirmed that they reached a deal over the disputed border in the Himalayan region, and then they had struck an agreement with Beijing for military patrols along the frontier. So that is a good step forward. Now, if you see, one of the major challenges of the BRICS is restructuring the world financial system. And there's a lot of discussion of establishment of an economic and monetary union. It's not an easy thing. It took Europe 42 years, from 1957 till 1999, to establish an economic and monetary union. The euro was launched on January 1st, 1999, and for 3 years it was an invisible currency, only used for accounting purposes and electronic payments. But coins and banknotes were launched in 2002, 3 years later, and in 11 EU countries, that was the biggest cash changeover in history. And the steps they had taken was starting with a preferential trading area, which reduced custom tariffs between certain countries, a free trade area with no internal tariffs on some or all goods between participating countries, then a custom union with the same external custom tariffs for third countries and a common trade policy, then a common market with common product regulations and free movements of goods, capital, labor, and services, then an economic and a monetary union, which means a single market with a single currency and monetary policy, and then complete economic integration, all the things above, plus a harmonized fiscal and other economic policy. So if we are talking about uniting and integrating BRICS, there is a lot of work to be done. It's not an easy thing that tomorrow you will see a BRICS currency introduced. But the achievement of BRICS are huge. The BRICS represent now 45% of world population, which is roughly 4 billion people, and a combined nominal GDP of 28 trillion people with the old definition, by the way. But now BRICS account for 36% of the global GDP by PPP, surpassing G7 with 29% and the EU with 14%. So BRICS is now the largest economic bloc in terms of GDP. The growth of BRICS, is forecasted at 4% versus 1.7% for G7 and 3.2% globally. So BRICS is ahead in economic growth. It holds 45 trillion in investable wealth, and the nation collectively account for 45% of global crude oil production. BRICS countries hold 20% of the global gold reserves, led by China with 300 tons, and China with 2,200 tons, and it accounts for 25% of the global export. So it shows that BRICS will become a real power in the coming years. And what was important about the Kazan conference was a declaration they adopted titled Strengthening Multilateralism for Just Global Development and Security. And there was an interesting article in that declaration, Article 132, that relates to the work we are doing with decolonizing the mind. Because BRICS has been presented very much as an economic union, Shanghai Cooperation as a security union. But as I've been arguing for a while, we need to look at the intellectual component of a new world order. And here is Article 33 of the recent Kazan Declaration, saying we encourage strengthening ties between expert communities and civil societies of BRICS countries. In this regard, we welcome the successful holding of BRICS academic forums and BRICS civil forums, activities of the BRICS Think Tank Council, enhancing cooperation in research and capacity building among the academic communities of BRICS countries, and the launching of a BRICS Think Tank network for finance that will support the discussion of the BRICS financial track. We endorse the establishment of a civil BRICS Council. Now, here is the opening for all the work we've been doing for the past years, which is an intellectual dimension of a new world economy. And, the declaration further says, and the press releases after that the first annual conference of the BRICS think tanks is designed to highlight the importance of cooperation between research institutions of the BRICS countries in predicting the future and shaping economic and social policies, to build bridges of cooperation linking these countries, and to enhance their role in the multipolar international system. The participating analysts plan to discuss mechanisms for enhancing academic and intellectual cooperation among the BRICS countries. And particular attention will be paid to the role of the media in disseminating the researchers' findings and expanding the scope of the dialogue on common issues with the BRICS groups. The participants will also exchange opinion on how think tanks might contribute to economic growth strategies and trading cooperation among the BRICS countries. Now, you see, this is a serious thing, that they are going to look at the intellectual dimension of a new world order, which is knowledge production, and which is what the decolonial movement has been arguing for decades. If you want to read more about what I wrote on Israel, Iran, BRICS, look into my book in the index. The PDF of the PowerPoint now you can download at sanderhira.com. And if you want to support the DTM channel, subscribe to it, share it with friends, families, and colleagues, and encourage them to subscribe. Get involved in the discussion group. And if you want to make a donation, go at sanderhira.com to see how you can do that. So thank you very much for attending this episode, and hope to see you next week.